I have a question for the rest of America. Does anyone even care about Nebraska? Does anyone even care?
The state of Nebraska has fucked around and found out as they are ready to go bankrupt in the next 6 months. Their state's economy relies heavily on agriculture, and over 70% of their workforce is from undocumented immigrants. Knowing this, they voted for Trump, hoping that he would get rid of the undocumented immigrants. And now they are severely understaffed across the entire state, unable to find enough workers to replace the undocumented immigrants who supplied their state with enough workforce. This is the find out stage of fuck around and find out. In the next 6 months, the state of Nebraska will be entirely bankrupt, unable to support itself, and be looking for a bailout from the federal government. All because they let their racism and hate towards immigrants be more important than their economic livelihoods. There's nothing to feel bad about here. They voted for this. They knew exactly what they were voting for. Now they have what they wanted. Let's see how it turns out for them.
Does anyone even care about Nebraska?
Don't nobody give a damn about Nebraska right now. Not a one person. 65% of your workforce was undocumented labor who took care of all of your agricultural needs. And you, as a state, collectively decided that you were going to vote for the other guy so that way you could get rid of all of the quote-unquote illegals. What you didn't take a moment to reconsider was that these quote-unquote illegals who were doing the biggest job in your entire state for the littlest cost was exactly how essential they were to all of you. And now, whether it's because they fled or because ICE has raided all of your entire workforce, your farming industry has literally sunk into the toilet. And did you really think white people were going to take those jobs? You know how grueling it is to get up every morning at the butt crack of dawn to pull crops and to sit out there and work for pennies? You transparent looking motherfuckers wouldn't be able to handle 10 minutes of that. So no, don't nobody feel sorry for Nebraska right now. You got what you voted for, now figure it the fuck out.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of FAFO season. MAGA ranchers in Nebraska are the latest to find out that you can't eat racism for breakfast. They voted for Trump in order to kick out immigrants, yet they depend highly on cheap immigrant labor on their farms. You voted for hatred, now you're finding out. Nebraska is now staring down at bankruptcy in just 6 months. Let's break it down, guys. I'll be back with more commentary.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are gonna go bankrupt now. We are gonna go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
I have a question for the rest of America. Does anyone even care about Nebraska?
No, we don't. We don't care. You wanted that. Now live with that. Live with that consequence. Live with that choice that you made.
Billy, what the hell's going on? You hear the news? Apparently Nebraska's going broke.
It's gotta be fake news, man. It gotta be fake news.
I can't believe it either. Like, how do we get in this predicament?
Gotta be those damn soy boy Democrats, man.
This is crazy. We're going broke. The ranch is going down. What about your immigrants?
They're all gone, man. Julio, wow, they're all fucking gone, man.
The worst ever. What's going to happen,
man?
They're crashing the economy on purpose. We've literally been seeing this happen for about 25 years now. Everybody else is going to lose their 401ks. Everybody else is going to lose all kinds of wealth. People are going to start losing their homes shortly. while the super wealthy are gonna buy up all the stocks at super cheap prices. They're bankrupting the farmers right now so they can buy all the land for a penny on the dollar. They didn't rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America to be stupid. It's actually really smart in a very evil kind of way, because by changing the name, all of the laws and rules we have about not drilling in the Gulf can be thrown out in court, because it's no longer the Gulf of Mexico, it's the Gulf of America. During COVID, billionaires became $400 billion richer, while everyone else suffered. It doesn't matter if you voted for the man or not, you're probably not a billionaire. You're gonna suffer. The leopards have already eaten your face.
Well, in today's episode of F Around and Find Out MAGA edition, cattle ranchers in the state of Nebraska who voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump fear the impact on their businesses when Donald Trump implements his mass deportation program that he campaigned on for almost 2 years, that they voted for. And now they're realizing that if he actually implements it, they'll go bankrupt. He told you for almost 2 years that he was going to deport 20 million Hispanic, Latino, undocumented immigrants living and working in the United States. You voted for that. And as cattle ranchers in the state of Nebraska, your business and your profitability depends and relies on undocumented immigrant workers who are now going to be deported by the guy that you voted for, who said he was going to do that. How dumb are you people?
Alright guys, Nebraska, like a lot of the Midwest, actually depends heavily on immigrant labor, especially in agriculture. You know, we are talking about dairy farms, cattle ranches, cornfield, you know, everything about agriculture actually. And guess what? The folks doing the hard labor for cheap wages, it's immigrants, of course. And yet a lot of Nebraska cattle ranchers actually voted for racism. Now they're finding out that racism cannot put money in your bank because their state is running at a risk of becoming bankrupt, as it heavily depends on cattle ranches, which are now understaffed because Trump, whom they voted for, has been carrying out mass deportations for immigrants. So we know a lot of immigrants ain't coming to work because they fear being deported from ICE raids.
Since the election, everyone has reminded me that I thought Kamala Harris was going to win. Everyone has reminded me that she didn't win and Donald Trump won. I've seen it over and over and over again. But what I also said was, if Donald Trump did win, it would be a disaster for farmers and oil workers. Because the last time Donald Trump was president, it was a disaster for farmers and oil workers. Now, he really hasn't gotten to oil workers yet. But hey, farmers, how you doing? Yeah, you see, the last time Donald Trump was president, over 100,000 farms went belly up in America. So here he runs for president again, and what do you farmers do? Yeah, you vote for him again. And I don't understand why, but it's one of those cases where you effed around, and now you're going to find out again. Because apparently he didn't do enough damage the first time. You wanted to You wanted to see it a second time. So here we are.
If you're a Trump supporter, just know that there are 4 things that everybody who's not a Trump supporter thinks about you. And so far, you've done nothing to disprove these things. 1, you're uneducated. And I don't mean uneducated in the sense that you didn't go to school and learn to read or do basic arithmetic. I mean, you're uneducated as far as what's going on in the world. You got goggles on, only paying attention to what you want to pay attention to. Dose, you lack empathy. You don't care what happens to somebody else as long as it doesn't happen to you. Imagine for a moment the government started saying, hey, your marriage is illegal. How would you feel about that? How would you feel about that? But you don't care that it's happening to gay people as long as it doesn't happen to you. 3, you lack independent thinking skills, meaning you are incapable of forming your own thoughts, opinions, or viewpoints on things. You need pundit talking points from Fox News or whatever that other OAN. You need those people to tell you what to believe. You don't have the ability to look into those claims and maybe think something else. It's a confirmation bias. You live in this bubble and you refuse to step outside of it. 4, and I think this is the most important one. I think this is the one you really need to work on if you have the ability, and that is critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to look at a situation and say to yourself, you know what, that's kind of fucked up. That's not right, and you can't do that. So I look forward to all the laughing emoji reactions to this video, because the people that I just made these claims about don't have the ability to defend themselves. So they do so just with the laughing emoji. So.
Alright, you all, there you have it. Actually, as you have seen from the video, Nebraska is running at a risk of becoming bankrupt because cattle ranchers in Nebraska voted for Trump in order to kick out immigrants. That means they voted for racism, they voted for hate, and now they are the latest to find out. This is the finding out phase, is the FAFO season. Everybody has been finding out, including a lot of immigrants, especially Latinos for Trump, who are the first ones to actually find out, because a lot of them went ahead and voted for, the orange man in charge, thinking that they were exempt or thinking that they were doing themselves a favor. But they found out too quick that the orange man in charge indeed had not included them in making America great again. Now, on today's episode, as we have seen, guys, Nebraska is suffering a lot because a lot of their ranches and their farms are understaffed. As immigrants, most of them have been deported, and those who have not been deported, of course, they ain't gonna come to work because they fear being deported from organizations like ICE, which is carrying out mass ICE raids, at workplaces and detaining anybody who looks like an immigrant. If you're a brown person or you look like an immigrant, well, they're gonna detain you until you can prove your citizenship. But here comes Nebraska now. Cattle ranchers are crying out because now they're finding out that they need these immigrants. They're finding out that everybody actually depends on each other. The rich depend on the poor depends on the rich. And the funny thing is that how can you go ahead and vote against your own best interest? The question that people are asking is that, do these people not have actually a brain to think and think hard? The first time that Trump was in power, for 4 years, those who actually paid the price were farmers, farm workers, and farm owners, because a lot of farmers actually lost their farms, because many farmers actually use immigrants who are willing to work for cheap prices. We all know that in places like California, all the way to Nebraska and the Midwest. And the largest share of the economy of the Midwest is, they depend on these agricultural practices, and for them to actually go and vote for something that threatens their very own business, their very own existence, is quite interesting. It takes a man who really has hate running deep down into their veins for them to go and do that. Now, after they went ahead and voted for Trump, they're finding out now that their vote is actually taking money from their pockets. Their vote is actually running them at a risk of losing their farms. Their vote is running their states at a risk of actually becoming bankrupt. Can you believe a whole state becoming bankrupt because of the mistake that you made at the ballot box? Well, you better start listening, because a lot of people are happy. A lot of people actually are here saying, we told you so. You should have listened and voted for your best interest. Well, that's what you get for voting for hatred. That's what you get for voting for racism. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this far. If you're new to this channel, kindly consider subscribing, like the video, and drop me your opinions in the comment section below. And see you on the next episode.